Hi kids, welcome back. I hope you were able to watch the first video. We went through the first half of chapter 9. So today we're going to go through the second half of chapter 9 and we're going to start on page 108. So we'll talk about 108 through 115, which is where you're headed this week. When we left last, we had talked about the three first key ideas in earth science. They were that the earth is always changing in order to keep balance. The second key is that the earth is made of distinct layers. And the third key was the study of plate tectonics, helping to explain geological movement and catastrophes that we may have on the earth because of shifting earth. Now today I'd like to focus on the fourth and final key idea of earth science. So that key idea is that the production and preservation of soil sustains life on earth. So producing soil and preserving soil is super important. Since we've already discovered the structure of our earth and we understand that our earth is actually a series of layers, can anyone remind me what lithosphere is? What parts do those have? Yes, it's got the crust and the upper mantle. Does anyone remember where the crust is? Oh, of course, it's what we walk upon every day. Good job, I knew you could remember that. So right now, I'd like you to understand a little bit more about our soil profile and what gives us soil, how that happens. So think of rocks that are fist size and maybe rocks about this size being worn away and becoming even smaller particles. So what we have is a word called weathering. Weathering happens in two ways. There's two types of weathering. Weathering can be physical, where rocks of any size can just keep getting worn away by wind or water or heat or freezing water or cold. Different elements will make them crumble, and even high pressure can make rocks come apart. So the more they are physically weathered, the more they break down. So everything here used to at one time be a large rock, and it all breaks down. However, there are some things that get added into soil to make it more interesting. You'll see here, this is a sandy soil, and sand has little pebble elements to it too, little rocks that aren't quite all the way broken down. We've got a lighter soil that kind of has a lot of different kinds of things. This all came out of the same area, but yet we've got rocks, we've got soft, silty dirt, and we've got some other sticks and things in it. Then we have the soil that we call topsoil that looks very rich and ready with nutrients to grow things. This is our topsoil here. And then a jar of some stuff and some things in here. What's that? Oh, well, it's called humus. And humus is all of the debris that maybe falls out of your tree, the pods from the redwood trees, all kinds of things that you crunch around on outside. That all gets crumbled down and weathered into our soil. So in third grade, you guys learned a lot about different kinds of rocks. And the reason that different soils are different is because of what kind of rock is weathered away and becoming soil. And so you might have a very soft, light rock like lava rock. Or you might have a very dense, thick, heavy rock such as granite, like they make countertops out of. So whatever is being worn away and weathered away, turning into soil, gives us different soil properties. Now, the second type of weathering is chemical. So because of a combination of oxygen and other minerals and things that are changing among the atmosphere, you'll have some oxidation. Oh. They're laughing at me. Oxidation, and oxidation is the production of an acid. And so the acids actually break down the rocks just as well. So because of everything that's happening, all the movement, all the weather changes, the weathering actually brings us to different soil profiles. So I found this rock out in my backyard, and I'm wondering if you can remember a word we learned last week. Look at the layers there. Yes, strata. This rock is an obvious example of strata, and at one point it had layered, and now it's become one as a whole rock. And then what I want you to do is to know three key words. I want you to know topsoil, subsoil, and bedrock. because these three areas are where our soils end up settling, and we want to know the difference between them. So I'm just going to ask you four today. I'm going to ask if you can tell me where this is probably located. Think of the word topsoil, subsoil, bedrock. So if I were showing you a layer of just solid rock, can you find it in this picture? The solid rock, it's not even fist-sized rocks anymore. Now it's solid. That would be your bedrock area. So anything that's way down, compacted tightly, and more of a solid mass is called bedrock. How about a fist-sized rock? These right here, maybe larger boulders. That is also part of your bedrock area, okay? And then grass roots. So if you're finding grass and the grass roots are coming down, now there's the tree roots here, but the grass roots would be probably right here. Would that be topsoil or subsoil? Oh, I hope you guessed topsoil. The grass roots stay right along up in here into the topsoil area, and they're a little bit shorter. Now a tree can actually have its roots go all the way down into subsoil if it's larger and older. And then the last one, the light brown color. So you can tell this is darker, this is lighter. This is called subsoil, all right? So we've got topsoil section, subsoil, and the bedrock areas. And I want you to remember that in our soil profiles. So moving along, now that we know why rock gets worn away and weathered, and we know that things get layered as it gets settled, let's talk now a little bit more about conservation and preserving what we do have. We want to preserve and conserve our soils and our trees and forests, because those are natural resources that we need and that we use a lot. And so if you're looking in your book, page 112 and 13 talks a lot about conservation. And on these two pages, Ms. Cat and I would like you to read these, hopefully maybe along with a parent. We'd like you to read those two pages together and everything that's on there to understand a little bit more why it's important that we save or conserve our soil and trees. Now, what you're being asked to do this week in your instructions for science is you're being asked to choose either 9.7a or 9.7b, which is the back here. Oops, I'm having trouble there. All right, so this is called deforestation. And these two pages are asking you questions about how things were conserved and preserved and when things were lost. It's a little bit more challenging using the chart on this side. And then on this side, you would answer questions after you've done some really good reading. Your book pages and of course this page. Then you'll want to keep going to page 115 as well. So once you've read those two pages, I want you to keep going and finish up page 114 and 115. You'll understand the word equilibrium. That's your last vocabulary word. And you'll understand how our Earth stays balanced by using different principles or laws about Earth science. Now there's four. These two pages contain four principles. We want you to see if you can find them. All four principles are talked about on these two pages. And when you get there, what we'd like for you to do is choose one of the graphic organizers that we've uploaded for you. They're both the same, they'll do the same thing. You can do it in two ways. You can get a page size page like this. You can print it from the computer if you'd like. And you can do all four separately. Or what I did, I folded my page in fourths, and then I just drew boxes, and I made a page with all four on them. They're just smaller. What you'll do is you'll follow the instructions on writing about the four principles in our Earth science. You'll find all four of them here, and what we want you to do is take a pen or a pencil. We want you to give it a title. The first one that you would come up to, let me just write that one here, would be lithosphere. We've talked about that this week. You would write lithosphere. That's this week's lesson and last week's lesson in chapter 9. You would draw a picture that would represent what do you know about the lithosphere? Okay, and then you would use these lines to write 3 short sentences or a thought that would go along with your picture. Then, as we travel into chapter 10, 11, and 12, we're going to talk about the 3 other ones in depth. But for today and for this week, all 4 of these, again, are covered on these 2 pages. You'll find 4 different areas that we'd like you to write about. And then hang on to your work. You'll show us on Friday how much you've discovered. But for today, that's really what we have for you, is to know your new words. This is a combination of all of our vocabulary since we've started chapter 9. You might remember inner core, outer core, the crust and mantle, topsoil, subsoil, and bedrock. What is weathering? Magma, what is that? And you'll need to know what strata is, the plate tectonics. What is a fault? What's convection current? What is equilibrium? And what is the lithosphere? So equilibrium is the last thing you're learning about, and I know you can do it. I know you can understand these vocabulary words, and when we come back together, we'll talk about more of them. So thanks a bunch, my friends. Have a great time in science.